Too Naked to Hide by Nina J. Course. Chapter 15. Early Afternoon. Wandering around Padua. They had just left the house. Look, we look like two normal people, a couple leaving the house to go to work. It would be nice, wouldn't it? She had looked around satisfied while Jacopo checked his mailbox. A flock of young kids walked cackling loudly under the portico. She was surrounded as she walked to her bike. Instinctively, she sped up. He lost sight of her for a second. She turned around, taking a quick, thoughtful, piercing glance at the swarm of youngsters. Jacopo dove in the pack of teenagers, caught up with her and started to walk at her side. He put an arm around her shoulders. They were stiff. But she looked at him. He smiled. She understood his unspoken attention, his caring consideration for her. She lowered her eyes to her shoes. Well, her hand swirled in the air. Yes? No, nothing. Tonight, dinner at Zairo? Good idea. So you can tell me. Yes. You can tell me about the whiskey. Oh, I don't think so. I do. There's nothing to tell, Jacopo. He stopped. The troop of shrinking youth was now distant. They were alone under the portico. The day was clear, bright. Clear-cut shadows of columns projected their silhouettes over them in a clear-cut chiaroscuro of shapes. I say we need to talk. I say we already talked. We always talk about us. No, we talk about me. We never talk about you. Oh, that's not true, Jacopo. I always talk about my husband, the kids, my life, my job. I'm always telling you everything. All right. So you decide. Either you tell me everything about you tonight, or we're having dinner by yourself. And I won't call you ever again. Say yes, please. Say yes. She raised her shoulders. Then she froze. I wrote to you. I sent you an email this morning. You'll find it in your computer as soon as you go to... I know. Jacopo slipped his hand in his pocket and extracted a sheet of paper. What is it? It's your mail. She grabbed it and moved to rip it. He was faster and pulled it above her head. Didn't you write it? Yes. Didn't you write it to me? No, I wrote it to myself. But then you sent it to me. Well, yes, you asked me to. Good. Then we can talk about it tonight. Say yes, please, say yes. Think about it during your convention, all right? She nodded. She looked away, and for a split second her eyes were absent, remote, distant, as if swallowed by a deep hole. She moved her bag to her left shoulder. Say yes, please. Say yes. What if I say no? Well, if you say no, we'll go back to be friends, but actually we were never friends. At least we'll stop eating and drinking a bottle of wine per meal. You emptied my wine cellar. It's just that... Her hands swirled. She shallowed, looked around. She took a step towards the wall, but didn't lean on it. Yes? Jacopo had folded her email and put it back in his pocket, carefully. It's just that one thing is writing, another is talking? Yes. See, you don't talk to me. She lifted her eyes. Her dark eyes pierced his. He felt lost. Her eyes dug deep inside of him, a black, deep gaze. All right, see you tonight. He smiled. It's not fair, fool, she grumbled. Okay, my love, it's okay. Don't worry, it's all right. He leaned towards her and caressed her face. Then he brushed his hand against her lips. Jacopo, what if somebody sees us? I couldn't care less. Then kiss me for real, bad boy. He wrapped his arms around her, breathed her fragrance, and gave her a long kiss as she stood still, her palms open upwards to the sky. All right, let's get going. I'll talk to you on the telephone to settle things for tonight. She sighed and lowered her hands. She smiled. Okay, bye. She walked to her bike, unlocked the chain and wrapped it around the seat. Then took her iPod from her bag and revealed the earphones and put them in her ears. She turned it on, climbed on the bike, gave a vigorous thrust on the pedals. I told you I'll talk, but I won't tell you anything about tonight. And plus, I wrote it all down. Isn't that enough? No, honey, it's not enough. She pointed to her earphones, gesturing she couldn't hear him. She laughed. He laughed too. He lifted his hands and watched her speed away, entering the flow of the traffic. He had just parked the car in the garage when he looked at his watch. It was few minutes past 3. He felt no desire whatsoever to go back to the office. He turned his eyes to the sky, a blue, cloudless sky. He walked briskly towards the squares. His feet pressed hard against the ground at every step, his eyes fixed, looking ahead. The streets were almost empty, just a handful of people going back to work after lunch in an afternoon of early August. He reached the squares with his head empty of any thoughts, his eyes spellbound by his dark leather shoes hitting the ground at regular intervals. This is how it should be. I can do this. Walking fast, getting through this. Walking. I can do this. Then his cell phone vibrated. He took it and opened it mechanically without even looking at who was calling. Yes, he suddenly felt the urgency to talk to somebody, talk to anybody, but not with her. At the other end, a voice hesitated. Yes? He said, slightly irritated.
Hi, Daddy. It's Enrico.
Oh, yes, Enrico. What's up? He slowed his pace.
Listen, Dad, I'm okay. Thank you. Listen, will you take me to lunch tomorrow?
Wow, that's a first. Of course I'll take you. Where do you want to go?
To eat steak. Somebody told me they opened a steakhouse at the shopping center. They have the best steaks in the entire region.
All right, sure, we are going.
Oh, and also...
Yes?
Yes, Mom told me that... No, actually, no. I wanted to know... Mattia and I wanted to know if you want to come with us to Sardinia this summer. Maybe just 1 week. Mom agreed that you can't be alone the entire month of August. Mom said that you could come on the 15th Ferragosto or sometime around then.
Mom said. Giovanna said. Maybe there was some space. He saw a hint of hope. Small, but it was there. Sure, Enrico. We'll have to see if I can find a seat on the ferry.
I can look into that, Dad. I'll check on the internet.
Yes, you do that. See when there's seats still available. Yes, that was a very good idea.
All right, Dad.
Good. So we have a date for tomorrow?
Yes, Dad.
Okay, bye then.
Yes, bye. Oh, Dad?
Yes? Jacopo had stopped walking. At his right, a cafe window. He was looking inside, waiting for Enrico to finish his sentence.
Actually, Dad, it wasn't my idea.
No? The glass reflected a lot of light, but he had noticed something familiar inside the cafe. A familiar face.
No, it was Mom's idea.
Oh. He walked closer to the cafe door. The aroma of fresh coffee flew in spirals to his nostrils. He walked in.
Yes, it was Mom's idea.
Good. I'm happy for this invitation. His eyes took a moment to become accustomed to the darkness inside the cafe. Sitting at a table, he saw Miriam having lunch.
But don't tell Mom I told you.
Told me what?
That was her idea. It was actually everybody's idea, even Mattia's.
It seems like a great idea. Whatever thought of it first.
All right, bye then.
Bye. He hung up. Giovanna had invited him to spend a week with them in Sardinia. Giovanna was all made up this morning. Giovanna received phone calls from some guy called Lucia Massaggi. Giovanna told him she was going to lunch with Miriam. Miriam was sitting at a corner table with some groggy-looking guy. He turned on his heels and left the cafe. Going to my kids to look them lunch. Their mother is sick and bedridden. Bye. Still there? Oh, yes, still here. It's time to say goodbye, to go home and think of me. Kisses to everyone and off to rest. Even the Red Cross needs a break. You're right. I'm going home then, if you say so. Yes, I do. It's about time. This whole we're all sick, or if you don't come home, we don't know what to do thing doesn't quite make sense anymore. Kind of fishing. Straight home. Honey, I'm home, and I wish I was with you, talking, and hear your laughter soothing every anxiety away. Good night. A flash. A scene played back in his mind. She had gotten off from the back of the tram. He had to get off from the front. The tram was crowded with people. She was already sitting down when he got in. She had pretended not to see him. Dark shades, earphone, and her stiff back. At Prato della Valle, she had gestured to him, and they had gotten off the two opposite doors. She had walked ahead without waiting for him. The sun scorched down. She had taken off her white piqué jacket and held it over her shoulder, holding it with one hand. She had gathered her hair up with a red hair clasp. She walked straight ahead, assertive, fierce, composed. She was the woman everyone knew. Her head held up, her nervous, straight legs, her feet stepping one in front of the other, her skirt tightly hugging her hips, her shirt stretched around her breasts, her open shoulders. A soldier's march, her eyes finding shelter behind dark sunglasses. "Shall we eat at the same table?" he asked as soon as he reached her. "Of course." "Good." They kept walking. The square stretched wide, green, like an ancient battlefield. It had never been so vast. "Everything okay today at the Congress?" "It was not a Congress, it was a convention." "Good. I see we're feeling cheerful." "Good. I see we're feeling witty." Is it because of this?" He lifted her letter. She drew a long, deep breath, but didn't slow down. She looked straight ahead, heading directly to the restaurant. Her free hand grabbed the bag, swinging freely by her hip. "Not again." "What not again?" "Jacopo, are you still harping on that?" "Not harping on anything. Nothing. I don't know anything until you tell me." She picked up her pace. "Wait a second, honey." He caught up with her and touched her arm. She stopped abruptly and turned quickly towards him, ready to face him. With his free hand, Jacopo pulled up her sunglasses on her forehead. He looked at her straight in the eyes. Here's your letter." She stood still. Then raised her hand slowly and took the letter. She looked at it for a second. Okay, now, will you give it back? She handed it to him. He took the letter, folded it carefully, and started to rip it apart. Small stripes of white paper. She had stopped breathing, standing motionless. Then, as the threads grew more numerous, she started breathing again, but didn't move. I don't care, honey. If you don't want to, I don't care. I don't care about your past. You are a different woman now. The past is past. You are a completely different woman now. What happened doesn't concern me. She kept still. Her lips opened just slightly. Then took a long breath. But it shouldn't concern you either. If you want, you can tell me everything. I am sorry if I was so insensitive, so immature, but I like you now, the way you are now. How did you put it? That I was your sounding board? She nodded slowly. Wrong. You are my sounding board. I didn't care what you used it to be, or what happened. Nothing can change the woman you are now. The only thing that counts is the present. He had gathered all the shredded pieces of paper in one hand and put them in his pocket. Then he had taken her underarm and had moved towards the entrance door of the restaurant. Let's go eat, come. Her lips opened into a smile. It was like she wrote in her poems she was the smile of the world. When they walked out of the restaurant, passing in front of a wastebasket, he took all the ripped pieces of paper, held them before her face in his hands, and said, "May I?" She nodded. He threw them in the basket. "Well, that's where they belong," she said. Then she turned towards him, took him underarm, leaned against his body, and together they headed to the tram stop. That had been a wonderful lunch. He had walked around for some time. His legs had started to hurt. He was now at the Piazza dei Signori. He looked around. He had walked past the Piazza delle Erbe, walked by historic Palanca, then continued to Piazza della Frutta. The day's last open market stands were closing, amid empty cardboard boxes and parked vans. Straight ahead, a man seemed to be gesturing to him. "Hey, come Carla, come over here!" Jacopo turned around and looked behind his shoulders. A woman was bending over a cardboard box, filling it with t-shirts. Coming, coming! Look, Carla, it's Kamal! Jacopo walked on a few steps. Then he stopped. Come here! Kamal brought us a surprise! Kamal was a handsome young man. Black hair, low forehead, a broad smile. Behind him, a beautiful young girl wearing a veil over her head. Here, Carla, this is Shamira, Kamal's wife. Samira? Shamira, with the shoe. The two women looked at each other and smiled. They shook hands. They took stand 127. It's theirs now. Shamira doesn't speak any Italian yet. Is that right, Kamal? No, not yet. Kamal smiled proudly. Shamira looked shy but happy. Ah, you will see soon enough. She will be used to us. She's gonna get the hang of it soon, and she's gonna lose her veil, too. Ain't that right, Shamira? The man patted Kamal's bicep. Kamal smiled, a bit embarrassed but happy. He nodded. Sure, but with time. Oh, Oh, maybe this is a religious thing? Okay, doesn't matter. Just take it slowly. It takes time for these things, all in good time. You know what I mean, dear Kamal, all in good time. Kamal smiled and pulled Shamira closer to him. All right, so we're packing up and then we'll go to Bar de Jose. Drinks on me. We need to celebrate Kamal's wedding. Okay, no text. Kamal is getting jealous. Translation from Italian by Iris Cartia. Original music by Massimo Moretti for Maxmore Music. Post-production editing by Gina Lee. All mistakes are mine. If you want to see pictures of making of and life in Italy, please follow me, Nina J. Course, on Instagram and LinkedIn.